another episode of 1923 Main Street.
Home of everything to do with Disney travel in style. We are your hosts.
I am Mike Bello-Braddock.
And I'm Amelia Bello-Braddock. And today, how to theme or style your outfit at each Disney park.
Yes, if you're looking for fun ways to pack, and everybody likes to pack some cool outfits for their Disney vacation, why not style your outfits around the parks? Because they all have different sort of style vibes, and that is what we are going to talk about today, because this is really part of the fun of your vacation. And if you're not having fun packing, well, this is how to do it.
Yeah, you're doing it wrong if you're not having fun packing.
Actually, I don't have fun packing.
Then you're doing it wrong. I have a lot of fun packing.
But this may help me.
Because there's so many different ways to go about it. I mean, there's lots of different things that you can consider. And then, thinking about the photos you want or the vibes you want or comforts or different aspects for you or other people that you're traveling with. It's so fun. And I don't understand how you could not have fun with it.
What we're not going to talk about today is the weather or the seasons, whether it's Christmas or other times of year or whether you need a heavy coat. We talk about those in other episodes, but just bear in mind overlaying what we're talking about for each park.
Because I think it varies slightly, but at least in my opinion, in my packing, the core of each of the parks is the same.
Well, let's go through each park.
Well, I mean, it's like each park is the same year round.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like the core of their vibe.
Yes, okay, I see what you mean. All right, let's go park by park. We'll talk about, well, at least what I think the vibe of the park is, and Amelia may differ or may agree. And then we'll talk about really what you should wear or consider packing for that park. Let's start with we'll go in order. So let's start with Magic Kingdom Park. The vibe of this park stylistically really would be sort of vintage and original Disney style. Would you agree?
I feel like definitely yes, but not just Disney, like just in general. It's very much cozy, hometown. If you see all over your For You page, like small towns to visit this X time of year because it happens all time of year. It's sort of that energy and that kind of vibe that it brings to your photos or your
that would
vacation
work.
Or whatever.
So we're saying when you're packing for Magic Kingdom, for example, this is where you'd wear your classic Mickey poses or classic Walt Disney World Resort shirts, some of the originals that they still reprint to this day, graphic tee, sweatshirts, hoodies, dresses, whatever they are with the classic original type of characters and villains for that matter.
Well, definitely. And not only that, I like to follow, classic styles and different things like that, almost from different time periods because as, like Walt Disney based it off of Marceline, Missouri and different things like that, but it's very much reminiscent of a small town and even, the diners at the end and the different lands. It's just very cozy and home-like. Even if you've never been there before.
Yeah, and that's going with, we have a new line coming out at 1923 Main Street, the Main Street Swagger line. And that's really exactly what you just said was a big inspiration behind it. That sort of, vintage era walking down Main Street was a big deal, right? People would go out, get dressed, and walk down Main Street, that dapper style, dapper days in Disney parks, for example, celebrate that. So yeah, put on your Main Street swagger. That is Magic Kingdom Park. Now for accessorizing, you're going to follow the same theme, right? Whether it's like mini themed sunglasses or headbands or a Mickey hat or ears. This is your classic Disney accessories.
Yeah, and I don't even always go Disney with it. I just tend to go, like you're throwing around the word classic a lot, but I feel like that's a good way to describe it, it's just more traditional, still chic and inventive, but
that's what the Main Street swagger idea is. It's actually not Disney gear.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's maybe, subtle Disney or Disney inspired or just the era.
I mean, I don't think it ever hurts to throw in a Disney piece when you're at Walt Disney World, but it doesn't have to be that. There's lots of different ways you can go with it. Additionally, considering the lands, depending on what you're doing. If you're a big spacey person and you're going to spend all your time in Tomorrowland, dress accordingly.
Well, I don't know how much time you can spend.
Listen.
If all your time is 2 hours, then you're okay. All right, now let's move on.
Hey, lines for Tron are 2 hours.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's move on to the next park, Epcot. And I say the Epcot vibe from a fashion point of view is the most fashion forward of the Disney parks.
Well, it's definitely, I don't know if you could quite say it's cultured, but it definitely has the most going on.
if Disney had a park for fashionistas, it would be Epcot, because this is the park where you can feel free to dress up a little. You can wear your designer or Disney-inspired sundresses, button shirts, tops, skirts, all that sort of stuff. Non-Disney even is an Epcot, especially the World Showcase area.
I see a fair bit of, like the Lily Pulitzer collections here, especially depending on the season, obviously, but especially around Flower and Garden. It's very like bright and energizing of a park. Additionally, if you're trying to take some convincing photos at certain countries, you may want to dress accordingly based on that. So there's
the cultural aspect
exactly.
For
There's
sure.
There's a diverse amount of pieces that you can wear depending on what your goal is at Epcot. Are you going for the food? Are you going for the drinks? Are you going for the countries, the rides? There's so much to pick from that you can kind of play with when you're planning an Epcot.
Yeah, they have
outfit.
a lot of festivals, and this is sort of the upscale in Disney terms nature of World Showcase. So it's funny you talk about cultural, because where I've actually noticed that most with, not cast members, obviously, because they dress in the cultural attire, is the UK, where I've seen men in kilts and stuff sort of getting into the vibe, and they're probably doing, influencer photos, whatever they're doing. But this is where you can break from your trendy, casual Disney wear and, walk through World Showcase in style. Sip a glass of wine, have a beer or a mocktail.
I've been known to wear some country merch.
Oh, yeah?
Walking
Which country?
through World Showcase. Lots of different countries. I've had friends tell me I'm transnational because I just like the vibes of a lot of different countries.
Yeah, well, that's fair. And, that's what World Showcase is all about, really.
Listen, I'll dress up in a good France jersey. I'll eat probably far too much food from the Germany pavilion. I'll just walk around and have a good time. I love World Showcase.
And then accessorizing for Epcot, this means more like designer sunglasses, fancy sun hats, your favorite sort of crossbody bag or totes. Those sorts of things, I would say, would go with the sort of Epcot fashion vibe.
It's definitely, if you've been on like Pinterest or Instagram or that side of things, if you've ever seen like the Euro summer aesthetic, very much could work at Epcot.
Yeah, that would work.
You could pull that off quite easily, I think.
Now, let's switch gears entirely and take a look at Animal Kingdom Park, which actually is not going in order, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Now, their vibe, I say go wild and get your prints on, because
this one's not for me.
This park is the obvious place to wear your favorite prints, whether they're animal prints or not, all over print, even button-up shirts. They sell a lot of those in the park. If you like that sort of stuff, if you like earthy tones and dark cargo shorts and things, that could go. Safari wear, safari hats, safari ears. The characters are all safari. Lots you can go with here. It's very different than the other two.
Very different. It's also, and different than Hollywood Studios, it's quite interesting in the way that they have partly like crazy patterns and designs and everything in one second, and then very like muted, dark, camely tones the other second. Both of them work quite well at Animal Kingdom.
They do, because if you think of Mombasa Marketplace in Africa, that's wild with color. But still, the safari, even the stuff Mickey and Minnie themselves are wearing, and Donald, when you do the character greetings, the sort of safari hat stuff, which is also fun. And I mean, you can stretch it out to Avatar again, which is more colorful.
But I mean, listen, if you're strolling around Animal Kingdom trying to find a hoodie that's just nice and normal, you're not going to have much luck.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
will say. It was cold in the morning, and I was like, oh, let's see what they have. Nothing that is not quite in tune with their vibe, I will say. Their shops are very well themed to the Animal Kingdom vibe.
And if you want to go Disney IP, intellectual property for this park, obviously the animals sort of stuff. So Lion King, Zootopia, Nemo, they all have presences there or will. And then accessories
you could do a lot
here.
with that.
I'd say accessories here would follow that trend. I mean, even we have some. You have that water bottle holder that is animal print, and the ears, bags, even your phone cases and all that sort of stuff. They'll all fit in Animal Kingdom.
I feel like it could be quite cute. It's just not my personal style of choice.
I do actually have that shirt we got at Aulani, which looks sort of, it's really more Polynesian, but it's very lots of sort of plant-like greenery on that shirt with little Mickeys. That is my Animal Kingdom shirt because it's as close as I have in a print.
I'll wear palm tree
I
prints.
used to. I have a 1980s photo that you know well of me walking down Main Street in that tiger striped shirt. 1984, I think it was. I wish I still had that.
And every day the universe thanks you that you don't.
Oh, picture me, people. A tiger striped shirt, and for some reason it had Hawaiian flowers. I guess they thought it was a Hawaiian shirt. I should reproduce that shirt in our shop.
Well, that would
Or
be
maybe
certainly a
not.
choice.
All right, now let's close it out with Hollywood Studios, which I say the vibe is classic, elegant Disney mashup with contemporary IP.
I agree and disagree. This one's my favorite, personally. But again, Hollywood was designed a little bit mishmashy
Yeah, I mean, it was
when it
rushed.
was created, I will say.
Michael Eisner threw this park together literally with very little thought. That is why it's a horrible park to walk through with no order, because Universal was opening and he wanted to beat them with a Hollywood-themed park. That's how it all came together, and it's sort of crazy mashup style in terms of design of the park stands to this day as a bit off from the other three.
You know, I wouldn't quite go that far, but I will say there's a lot of different energies going on in this park. If you are going to go to Toy Story Land with your kids, or if you're going because you're a huge Star Wars fan and you're going to Galaxy's Edge, you're going to dress a little differently and accordingly, obviously based on that. But in general, I feel the park gives more of like an old Hollywood vibe, specifically.
That was the original, the glitz and glam, which they still celebrate, like Jollywood Nights, for
Exactly.
example.
Specifically some of the parties, and definitely down Sunset Boulevard, you know, before they switch up Rockin' and Tower of Terror. That vibe is still very much there. The more like 1920s and 30s, like the cute little hairdos and the dresses and everything like that is very much the vibe that I still think exists in Hollywood if you look for it and if that's your vibe and you want to dress up.
And there is a sort of clash of vibes. So you've got that when you come in. Of course, there's the Star Wars futuristic vibe. Then you got Toy Story. So the park, to some degree, has maintained this sort of crazy, chaotic personality.
But if you want to wear, you know, a cute dress or a cute outfit, and your kids want to dress up in Toy Story merch, and your husband wants to throw on Star Wars or any mix match version of that, you could do that. Your family could exist and fit all the vibes at Hollywood at the same time.
Well, Amelia hates it. I call this the everything bagel of the parks, where you can just throw everything together and it's going to work at Hollywood Studios. So if you have something that doesn't fit in anywhere else, wear it here.
I prefer to think of it as a crowd pleaser, personally. I think Hollywood has something for every member of the family, which some would argue makes it the most enjoyable park.
Yeah, and, you know, the same thing's going to go for accessory. Well, listen, it's always been your favorite, but at least it is better now, except I'm not a fan of Rock and Roller Coaster going Muppets, but hey, that's
that
just me.
was an artistic choice, but, you know, the ride
Should have
track
been
is the
Zootopia,
same.
if anything.
Should have been Taylor Swift.
Anyway, if you're accessorizing for Hollywood Studios, same idea. Wear your trendy sunglasses and hats, or sort of upscale, not upscale, but pseudo designer backpacks. Anything that's sort of nice that fits into that glitz and glamour vibe a little bit, or any of the other IP for the park. So this is your everything bagel park, where you can just wear anything that doesn't fit into the other three, which have much more well-defined vibes, I would say.
Well,
All right.
that's my comment on
Let
that.
us know what you think about these parks on social media this week. As always, follow along at 1923 Main Street on everywhere, including Blue Sky and Threads. Now we are everywhere. We'll see what we're going to do with X. And visit us, of course, in the shop at 1923mainstreet.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening, as always, and have a magical day.
Bye-bye.